Come in, come in. Brush the violet frost off your cloak and get close to the fire. You've found your way to my study today because, well, you're looking to understand the grim and grand architecture of the human psyche. In today's explainer, we're opening a very old, very dusty tome. We aren't just dryly looking at psychology here. We're actually stepping into a cosmic, Gothic fable. We are going to explore the architecture of the Silver Weaver.
So take a look at the question on the parchment right in front of you. Student, what becomes of a shattered mind in the freezing void? I want you to really imagine a dark, eternal expanse. It's a haunting atmosphere where the air literally bites and the light just dies. Out there in the dark hang the discarded political assets of the old world. These are minds completely broken by the weight of ruling, ruined by the court, just wandering out in the cold. Terrifying thought, right? A mind cast completely adrift in a frozen abyss? But, as we're going to see, there's actually a strange sort of salvation out there in the dark.
Just behold the absolute macabre reality of this void. Over on one side, you've got the Obsidian Doctor's dark, jagged mountain precipice, just a brutal place of sharp rocks and cruel drops. And right below that, the Jester's ruined theaters, which are essentially these horrific pits of madness and false distraction. But look over to the other side. Glowing against all that dark, suspended perfectly between those two horrors, is the Cosmic Weaver's domain. And it's not some heavy stone palace. No, it's this shimmering, translucent cathedral made entirely of silver threads and diamond-hard silk. It hangs there like a glowing nerve center of stars, completely pulsing with vibrating information.
Now, before this cathedral was even spun, there was this massive argument echoing through the void. Just listen to the cold, jagged words of the Obsidian Doctor. Let the discarded assets freeze in the violet frost of the abyss. Harsh reality is the only cure. You see, the Doctor represents the absolute, ruthless, unforgiving nature of the old world. He literally believed that these broken minds, these fragile political assets, should just be left to the harsh elements, left to shatter entirely on his black mountains.
But the Weaver is ancient, ethereal, glowing with starlight, and they absolutely refused. Their decree rang out, "No, I will weave their chaotic impulses into structural permanence. Nothing is lost to the void." The Weaver didn't see broken minds as trash to be thrown away. Not at all. The Weaver saw raw material. So this glowing cathedral of silver silk we're looking at was spun specifically to catch those falling souls, literally saving them from the violet frost by weaving their very madness right into the walls of a sanctuary.
And this cathedral doesn't have traditional stone walls. Instead, it's built on 3 brilliant structural layers that perfectly mirror human consciousness. Down below, the roots form the silken id. Spanning the center, we have a philosophical bridge, the glass ego. And towering way up above, the celestial ceiling forms the starlit superego. Let's dive right into the fables of how they were created.
We're going to begin our descent into the dark. Follow me down into the foundational roots of the Old Kingdom for Fable 1, The Feast of the Silken-Eyed.
Down in those freezing depths, there was a man known as the Starved King. Now, he had devolved into a raw, blind beast of pure desire. This, student, is the id. The man hungered for literally every crown he saw. His mind was just entirely consumed by this pulsing greed and chaotic animal instinct. And, if left alone, a creature like this would absolutely fall into the Jester's ruined theaters, eventually destroyed by his own endless, unquenchable appetites.
But the Weaver descended into those dark roots, not to feed the man, though. Instead, the Weaver cast this massive cosmic web of silver silk directly over the king's raw, primal drive. It trapped his greed, turning all those chaotic urges into a glowing, mythical constellation. By binding this beast in diamond-hard silk, the Weaver anchored the man's soul. They took a temporary, destructive impulse and turned it into a permanent myth.
You really need to remember this cosmic law. Even the darkest animal instinct can serve as a foundation when bound by cosmic law. The Starved King's hunger wasn't just some personal sickness driving him mad out in the void anymore. No, once it was bound by the silver threads, that heavy pulsing greed literally became the anchor, the main structural pillar of the Weaver's home. The id actually provides the weight that holds the entire cathedral in place.
So, having secured the roots, we need to ascend into the glowing, vibrating center of the cathedral. Let's turn the page to Fable 2, The Compass of the Glass Ego.
Up here, wandering the frozen ruins, was the scholar. He represents the glass ego,
which is a profound metaphor for personal identity. His mind was essentially this fragile mirror, just cracking under the immense pressure of reality. He was desperately trying to balance his public duty to the old king with his absolutely paralyzing private fear of the Obsidian Doctor. This was a man split in two, his identity fracturing like thin ice on a winter lake.
Let's trace the scholar's metamorphosis. First, he's wandering the ruins, his ego on the absolute verge of shattering. But then the Weaver approaches, and the Weaver doesn't offer him a shield. Instead, they press a compass of cold starlight directly into his palm. This is the turning point. The Weaver casts a web that forcibly links the scholar's high-minded logic to the messy, grim reality of the streets below. He transforms from someone with a disposable, shifting identity into a solid, unmoving coordinate in the void.
This brilliantly illustrates what the ego is actually for. It becomes a philosophical bridge. You see, by handing him that compass of cold starlight, the Weaver forced the scholar's ego to stop its endless negotiation between his pride and his shame. His identity was permanently woven into a thread in the sanctuary's map. For the first time, he wasn't just a shadow of the throne. He was the vital bridge connecting the dark roots below to the heavens above.
Finally, student, I want you to tip your head back, look up. We're ascending from the bridge right into the final, breathtaking chamber of the sanctuary to examine Fable 3, the architecture of the starlit superego.
A genuinely chilling question hangs here in the freezing void. Does the superego exist only to punish the soul for its failures? Back in the Old Kingdom, there was a knight. His mind was entirely dominated by an internal judge, this cruel voice demanding moral perfection. And if you leave it unchecked, this part of the mind feels exactly like a torturer, just relentlessly reminding you of every single rule you've broken, every standard you've failed to meet.
But just witness this stark transformation. Originally, the knight's superego was this rigid cage of king's order and nonstop self-punishment. The Weaver, though, in their infinite wisdom, didn't break the cage. Instead, they reinforced those iron bars with cosmic webs of absolute, unyielding truth. The Weaver hoisted the knight's internal judge way high into the void, completely transforming it into the very ceiling of the cathedral itself.
Now you might be wondering, why does the ceiling need to be so heavy? The answer is protection. This celestial superego no longer exists just to punish the soul, but rather to provide massive moral gravity. Think about it. Without this heavy, starlit authority pressing down from above, the entire cathedral would literally uproot and drift straight into the jester's web of false intimacy and madness. Those strict rules of the ceiling are absolutely crucial to keep the sanctuary grounded in reality.
Which brings us to the ultimate law of the Weaver's realm, glowing brightly right up there in the cosmic starlight. Freedom is not a lack of rules, but the ultimate submission to a truth that never changes. This is exactly what the survivors, the discarded assets, realize as they walk beneath this shimmering, starlit authority. The Weaver hasn't magically removed their burdens. The Weaver has organized them. By weaving the knight's highest ideals into the starlight, true freedom is actually found within the structure itself.
And so, student, as we close the tome on today's explainer, I need you to remember this final truth. The cosmic conscience survives the great silence. Out there, the Obsidian Doctor's jagged mountains still tear at the sky, and the Jester's ruined theaters definitely still beckon from the violet frost. But inside the Silver Cathedral, the id, the ego, and the superego have all been woven into eternal permanence. The mind is a terrifying, chaotic place, but as the Weaver shows us, with enough diamond-hard silk and cold starlight, even madness can be built into a masterpiece. So tell me, what discarded pieces of your own mind are currently waiting out there in the freezing void to be woven into your sanctuary? Think on that, at least until we open the books again.